What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the second episode of Obesity to Fitness to Fit. Um, this is the second part of this docuseries vlog, whatever you may call it, my story, my journey. So on this episode, I'm gonna focus more on a little bit about the nutrition and what I had to do to kind of get myself together in that realm. So let's jump right into it. So first off, the beer, and I really enjoy drinking beer. I really enjoyed, social drinking. That was one of the biggest things for me is social drinking, being out at events, being out at parties, or being with my friends. One thing that was really important to me is family, and being around your family, being around your friends, and a lot of the times that comes with drinking. So, for me, it was very rare that you didn't see me with a beer in my hand or whatever. And it's funny about fitness, or it's funny about just creating habits, because I wanted this, like, I kind of came, like, drinking beer became my identity at some point. So I would go to like these beer fests, or try different beers. I'll get, like, when we go out to a bar, I'll get flights, or I started getting into IPAs and different brewed beers. And it kind of became my identity for a while. So I was drinking beers and stuff like that. And I really wasn't drinking alcohol, straight alcohol like that at that moment. So it was really just beer. And I didn't realize how much calories is in just, even a Coors Light is a lot of calories, especially when you're trying to lose weight. So there was times where I literally would work out and I would reward myself with a beer, not realizing that I'm literally putting the calories back on that I burned off. So that was one of the hardest things for me, is just to kind of let go of beer. So just my journey through that, I'll say that that was the hardest, because even I went through a couple different phases with that. So there was one point where I would stop drinking beer, or I stopped drinking alcoholic beer, because I felt like it was just I was just trying to get myself in a I was trying to get myself in a rhythm to stop drinking. So I was drinking non-alcoholic beer, so O'Doul's, and I had a stint with that for a while. And people looked at me like I was crazy. So I would drink O'Doul's, and then I think at some point I was just like, man, something got to change. So I did a 90-day no alcohol, like, challenge to myself. And the first time it failed, I ain't gonna lie to you, the first time it failed. But the weight, I've noticed that, like, when I like for instance, I got 20 days in one time, and it literally, I felt healthier. One, mentally sharp, I felt healthier, and the weight dropped. And that was a big plus for me, because I'm like, man, this is actually working. So the second time around, I actually went through with it, and I got it. Like, it was like I went 90 days. And honestly, I want to say that was the start of kind of creating great habits for myself, because then I was just like, man, like, if I can do that, what else can I do? So then that transferred over to the gym. So I constantly made these little challenges to myself. So I was like, man, what if I went to the gym for 90 days and just stayed consistent with that? And I started doing that. So I started taking those small little wins and adding them to my fitness journey. And over time, it just became like that was something I did. I just kind of challenged myself. If there was something that I wanted to do, it was like, all right, give yourself 90 days and see how it works out. And that's really how that went with drinking beer. I mean, every time I went out, there was not one time I didn't go out and I didn't have a beer in my hand. I didn't have a cup in my hand of some sort. I would drink way before I even got to the event. There was times where I would literally buy a case of beer just to get drunk before I get there, to quote unquote say that, like, I was trying to save money. And the reality is I was just trying to hoard beer. Like, there was never a point where I didn't have a six-pack in my refrigerator. And it actually gave me anxiety not to have beer in my refrigerator. So it's like, after cutting that habit down, it definitely helped on this fitness journey, and it also helped me just mentally, physically, and yeah, I mean, and the concept of drinking your calories kind of went out the window for me because you don't realize it's just a beverage. When you're thirsty, you drink. So and I found also that a lot of the times it was that like I was just thirsty and I just needed to drink. So one of the biggest parts about that is distancing yourself from your family. Um, or your friends, or like I said, social drinking, man. It was very hard to have to be in a position where I had to distance myself from the people because, I mean, not necessarily because they're bad people, because you want to kind of do better for yourself. So I had to stop being around my family, or my friends that drank a lot, or those habits, because I was creating new habits. And I think that's one of the hardest parts about this fitness journey, is that creating new habits, everybody's not trying to change their life the way you are. So and there's no knock to them, but you kind of got to get in a situation where you're um, when you want better, you have to change your situation. So, you know, being away from your family, friends, and creating those new habits, that was a really hard part of this journey. You miss out on the good times. You get those FOMO moments where everybody's partying and cookouts and everybody's going out to drink, and you can't go because you know that with your journey and with your habits, man, it's just not in a part of your plan. So that was, I want to say, that was one of the hardest parts about quit drinking. To be honest with you, and it wasn't necessarily about drinking. It was just usually those situations where I'm around family and friends, there was alcohol involved, and because I had to use that will, because I had to use the power of not being at those events, because I knew that um, I wanted to join in the fun. I had to not be at those places. So that was one of the hardest things for me, is just to not be around families and friends while I was creating new habits. Still going to the gym, still being consistent, and then, like for everybody, the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, this was one of the most pivotal parts in my weight loss journey, because you were faced with two options at this moment. You could either quit or you could keep going. And I'm not gonna lie to you, for maybe 2 weeks, I just completely stopped, because I mean they said 2 weeks, so we're like, man, we get a break. Everything was, if you were looking at it that way, for your livelihood, like for me, my business paused. For everybody, everything paused. So it was a little bit of time to spend with your family. So I looked at those first 2 weeks like a big weekend. Like, how many times do you ever get 2 weeks off of anything? So, we started eating and, having fun with the family, man. Like, eating, bull crap. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. And it felt great to just eat whatever I wanted at that moment. But I remember I started feeling bad again. And I looked in the mirror, and at this moment, I just took a picture to kind of compare myself to where I was before the 2 weeks, and it was just bad, man. I kind of got back into my old habits. I wasn't working out as much because they were like, you can't go outside, and all the gyms closed, so there was nowhere to go, there was nowhere to work out. So um, my wife and my son, there was a park right around the corner from our house, and we just made the decision to just start going up there and walking, because everything was still closed. So we just went up there, we started walking, we started taking a basketball for my son. I think at some point, I bought him, before the pandemic, I bought him like a t-ball set. So we brought the t-ball set up there. There was a tennis court, so he was playing with the chalk, and then me and my wife were just like jump roping. And at this point, I got into kettlebell workouts, and there was a YouTube videos that you can watch, and you can start doing kettlebells off of there. They like set up workouts for you to do, and it was free. So all you had to do is just have a kettlebell. At that moment, weights and everything was hard to get. Luckily, you know, my brother was into fitness well, I mean, he still is, but he played football when I was in high school, and he had a lot of weights. So I had complete weight set. I just had to bring it up to the house, and I had bought a weight bench before I seen a weight bench on sale. It was like a small little weight bench. So I literally set up my son's room at the time, because at that time he was still sleeping with us in the bed. So at that time his room doubled as a weight room for me, and when I was done, I could just literally put all the weights in the closet. He had his room back. So during the pandemic, literally his room became the Spirit weight room because the gym was closed. So I had the weights. We would go outside. We'll do our cardio. They had a track up there. No, well, it wasn't a track, but they had it was pretty much a field that you can walk around. So we'd do our walks. And at this point, I still wasn't into running. At that point, I was just literally just doing kettlebells and just cardio. My cardio was sweating, and just like I said, I would just throw on the sauna suit. I managed to lose about 25 pounds during the pandemic. And I want to say that was the most pivotal part in one of the most pivotal parts in this weight loss journey, because I really had every excuse in the book not to do anything. I mean, many people did. Many people went the other way. During the pandemic, they gained weight, and I just didn't want to lose all that progress. I mean, literally, and I give it up to my wife too, literally a couple days before the pandemic hit, we both got into the gym and we both started working out, and that's when her fitness journey started as well. Literally right before the pandemic hit, right before they closed the gyms and stuff down. So her fitness journey started during the pandemic. So we both were kind of in a situation where we started something and we didn't want to lose that progress. So we both were at it. We both were working out. We both were literally just doing anything we could, not to only just get ourselves in the fitness and keep ourselves motivated and keep going towards our goals, but we had a child at that moment, and we wanted to make sure that he was getting active as well, because I mean, he was so used to going to school and stuff like that after everything shut down, he was inactive and stuff. So we just wanted to make sure that we, as a family, we stay fit and or at least try to stay fit and fight for our goals. So physically, at that moment, I felt like I was strong. I felt like I was fighting for those goals, and really making sure that I didn't allow that moment to take us out of our goals. So it was really nice to see my progress before the pandemic hit, but afterwards, losing that 25 pounds and still fighting through it. I mean, that was one of the most rewarding parts of seeing myself out there. So now that we're out of the pandemic and the progress hasn't stopped, it really, I guess it really put us in a position, me and my wife, it put us in a position that we wanted to inspire others with our journey. So I feel like that was one of the main goals of making this video. This is where it comes in with the insecurities, because I was taking pictures of myself at that moment, and even though I felt strong, I felt like my body was changing. So I was taking pictures, and it was, I would say, right at this moment, I felt better than I looked, because I knew I was strong. I mean, like I said, I was working on my upper body, and I could tell by my muscles, like my arms, I had a lot of definition. But for my stomach, for my belly fat and stuff like that, I still wasn't at the point where I was losing weight consistently. Like I said, I would gain 10 pounds and I would lose 10 pounds. It was just like an up and down. It was just constantly up and down. I would say that literally I felt strong mentally, and I knew that I was making progress. Like I said, in that time, I lost about during the pandemic, I lost about 25 pounds. So those before and after pictures kept coming. I still was able to look at where I was at before the pandemic and where I was at that current moment. So I would say that it was kind of a constant up and down, because you hit those, you're going to continue to hit those plateaus regardless, but it's even worse when you don't really have the proper tools to when you don't have those proper tools to actually sustain. And but I mean, I didn't have the proper nutrition skill or the understanding of how to eat at that moment. And also, at that point, I didn't have a structured workout system. I was really just working out. I was really just kind of making. At that point, I would say my biggest superpower at that moment was just consistency, because I did it every day. If I didn't do it every day, I felt bad, and that just kept me going. After, fast forward a little bit to, gyms are open back up, and now we're getting back out into the world. My nutrition got a little bit better. I focused in on my nutrition a little bit more. For the most part, I was just eating vegetables and a protein. So my diet at that moment was just broccoli and chicken breast, baked chicken breast, or I was really, I mean, still am. Baked chicken breast, and I would just air fry up some chicken. Honestly, I would just make sure that I had a protein and a vegetable. It wasn't nothing serious, and this is where my wife's portion comes in, because she started doing a fitness challenge, and they would in that fitness challenge, she would get meal prep plans. So she was making meal prep, and I didn't really understand the concept of meal prep at that point. I mean, I knew that, like, most people, especially like bodybuilders and stuff like that, they meal prep, but they just like ate boiled chicken and a vegetable or broccoli or something like that. So I didn't really understand the concept of meal prep at that time. But she put me on a meal prep, and she at some point, my wife was just doing all the cooking. So when she did meal prep, I would just we would just buy enough food for her to make double the meal prep. So at some point, I was eating the meals that she was eating, besides the anything with fish, because I'm allergic to seafood. So at some point, she was doing all the meal prep, and that honestly got us to where now we meal prep every day as a family, or like on a week, on like Sundays we'll make our meal prep for the week, and it's been like that for a while. So big shout out to her, because if it wasn't for her doing that challenge and getting that meal prep idea, my nutrition would have still continued to suffer. So that was a big win for me, because starting the meal prep took this journey to a whole nother level, because now I had the nutrition to match with the fitness and with the workouts. So that was a really big thing for me. But like I said, cutting out the beer was a big win. And also, like I said, just staying consistent. That was one of the biggest things for me, is to stay consistent during that time, during the pandemic, because that showed me and that gave me the discipline to keep going, even when things get tough, because things at that moment got tough. I mean, for everybody, not just for us, because pretty much the whole world was shut down at that moment. So to keep on with your fitness goals was just like something that, it was just like, wow, like that was something that I'm very proud of myself for continuing on doing. And my endurance journey takes off because I got a bike, and I've always loved bikes. I always loved riding bikes, but I went into a bike store, and I started talking to the guy, and he's telling me about bikes, and we happened to stumble upon a conversation about triathlons, and this guy was so passionate about triathlons, about bikes, and about everything, that it was just infectious. And like I said, at this time, the only thing I've been doing is just stair stepper, I walk on the treadmill. I would lift weights, kettlebell workouts, and like HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. And at this point, I didn't really, I can't say that I like running because I've only done running as a punishment in high school for for a football game. I mean, for missing your assignment in a football game, or after each practice you would run, or punishment you missing, like I say, missing an assignment in a football game, or whatever. So I only knew running as a punishment, so I never understood it as a recreational tool, or an endurance sport. So um, he sparked my interest, and I started looking more deeper into bikes, and deeper into triathlon. But like I said, it was never that serious. It was just, I got my first road bike, and that was a whole nother story because that was infectious, and that honestly took me into this next chapter. So stick around for episode 3 to find out how I got into endurance sports and how this took me to a whole nother level in my fitness journey. So stick around for that. So thanks guys for watching. This is episode 2 of the Obesity to Fit docuseries. Like always, like, share, subscribe, and follow this page, subscribe to this page, share. If you think that this video can help anybody out there, if you think if it added value to your life, definitely share. Like I said, if when you subscribe and you share, you like this channel, it allows YouTube to help me get into the algorithms, to find more people like me and you that videos like this can help. I know, everybody can use a little bit of help out there, man, and me as well. So that's one of the biggest things from YouTube, man. And when I wanted to look up somebody's journey, or when I was inspired, I definitely I subscribed and checked them out. So do the same, share with your friends, follow me on my socials, follow me on Instagram, Clutchendurance, follow me on Twitter, Clutch_EN, Darnell Turner on YouTube, and follow my podcast, Passion, Pain, and Progress, on Spotify. Like I said, guys, thank you for watching. Hope these videos inspire you. Stay tuned for part 3 of the Obesity to Fit docuseries. Peace. So, just a quick thing about the next episode. I'm gonna go into more in depth on getting into running. My endurance journey is pretty much where things take off, where things pick up for me, and really take off in this fitness journey.